My name is Mactoot. I am an assistant professor of public health at the American University in Cairo. I've taught here for about 6 years now, and I teach public health. And I'm also a published comic artist. I've been drawing since I was 7 years old. I've been drawing comics particularly since I was 7 years old. And my most famous, or the comic I'm best known for is Nazli and Lubna. Nazli and Lubna are two characters I created when I was 10 years old in 1995, and they've grown and evolved with me as I grew up. They've been featured in several publications, in the AUC Times, in the Caravan, in Cairo Gossip for a year, and they have 2 graphic novels out. One of them is Nazli and Lubna, which was released in 2018. It was a collection of comics that I released before. And also Corona Belbashamel, which was released in June 2020. Comics belongs to a type of art called sequential art. Sequential art is basically art images in a sequence that tell a story. So sequential art has existed since ancient times, so like in pharaonic drawings. And other types of sequential art include cartoons. Comics as a genre evolved or began in the late 19th century, and comics, the evolution of comics happened mainly in 3 areas. In the United States, in the early 20th century, basically the rise of the superheroes. You have the rise of Franco-Belgian comics in Europe, and you also have the starts of manga in Japan. In the Middle East, we've been importing comics for a long time. So we've had magazines now for generations like Mickey, which imports Mickey Mouse comics and translates them into Arabic, and European comics like Tintin and Asterix. But now, over the last 20 years, there's been a rise in locally produced comics, and there is a huge underground scene in Egypt at the moment. And hopefully it will become more and more popular as time goes on. So Nazli and Lubna, I would consider to be a documentary comic, mainly that they chronicle or they document the lives of young women in Egypt, with all the ups and downs of living in this context. Although I created Nazli and Lubna when I was 10, and they've evolved with me since, I decided to use Nazli and Lubna to talk about issues in society that women tend to face. So things like parental restrictions, things like harassment, things like the unequal pay gap, and gender equality in general. My journey with comics started at the age of 7. On my 7th birthday, my father bought me my first Tintin book, and I fell in love with Tintin. And I fell in love with Hergé and his art style. And at the time, I was not only reading and I was not only captivated by the stories that he told, but also by his art style. And I was studying him at the time because I started to draw characters that were very reminiscent of Tintin, and I started to copy his style. Tintin led me to Asterix. I was very much in love with Asterix. I emulated Uderzo's style as well, and then I was introduced to Spirou et Fantasio, another Belgian comic that I copied as well. I was also very influenced, so I was very influenced in general by Franco-Belgian comics, but I was also influenced by American comics, not the superhero kind as much, but comics like Archie. Archie was very big in my childhood. And Mad Magazine, humor magazines that were very popular at the time. So artists like Sergio Aragonés, Mort Drucker, and writers like Dick de Bartolo were very important in my evolution as a comic artist and in my own sense of humor and satire. My latest project, which I've been working on for 3 years now, is a book published by AUC Press called Rooted in the Body. Rooted in the Body is written by Lisa White and illustrated by myself. And this talks about Arabic morphology. It's an educational book that introduces Arabic learners to embodiment and Arabic morphology through a series of essays and comics. And it will be out very soon.